Hey, this is Sam from Architects, and you are watching Bob's Backstage Talk.
They say the good die young. No use in saying what it's done is done, 'cause it's not enough.
I don't know if we ever really thought that we were going to stop. It was just more like we didn't know whether we could carry on. I think all of us wanted to carry on, but yeah, it was just a case of whether we could, and whether the chemistry was right with Josh, and whether we could write without our main songwriter, and and then we started writing shortly after that tour, and then everything's taken a lot of work, but it's worked out very, very well. It was actually just after that tour, Josh sent over 2 demos that were pretty much done. And then from then on, everything sort of started working between him and Dan, and then Dan would start writing and then take stuff from Josh, and it would sort of, everything went between those two. And then when we had about 5 or 6 songs, me and Dan started recording vocals together, and then it went from there really. And then it was so much writing. It was so much like figuring stuff out, like who you find like new roles in the band, and how things are going to work out. And it was really fun. It was really tiring, because obviously we wanted to make sure it was perfect and do Tom proud. But actually thinking back to it, we had a lot of fun doing it. It was a lot of good memories. Do you know what? I think the thing with it is, I think we actually thought that people, if we released an okay record, like just a good record, then we would get a free pass because people felt sorry for us, and we didn't want that. Like, we didn't want the people just being like, oh, this is a great record because of everything we've been through. Like, we wanted to create like a undeniable great record, and that's why we worked so hard, because we didn't want to phone anything in, and we didn't want to just we didn't want to fake it. We've never done that before, and the back catalogue that Tom had created was so great. The 7 albums there that are great. So for us to release a Architects record, it has to be as good, if not better. So. And All Our Gods was a very hard album to follow, which made it very hard. But yeah, we got there, and we're really happy with it. I'm not really sure. I think in the sense of we wanted it to be really honest, and I think more personal than previous records, because for the last 2-3 years we've not really been that engaged in politics and everything that's going on in the world, because we've been fighting our own battle really with grief, and really it was just about getting that down on paper and expressing how much of a monster grief can be, and the ups and downs, and I think really sort of taking on board that kind of role of wanting to let people know that everyone goes through it, and everyone shares similar feelings throughout grief. So we'd never heard a band do anything like that before, so it's nice to be able to kind of be that shoulder for people, I guess, and just show people that they're not alone in that, because grief can feel very very, very strange at times. You can feel very, very alone even when you're surrounded by people. So it was important to let people know there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but then also that there is some pretty shitty times as well. Do you know what? Not really. After the 2 or so years of singing Tom's lyrics about what he was going through, I think that was harder for me, because you were sort of reading his diary almost, and everything that he was going through, and with Holy Hell it's a lot easier because it's sort of more from our perspective, so you can relate to it a lot more, whereas when singing stuff from All Our Gods, you sort of go down these little roads in your head where you're trying to figure out what he was singing about, and but I think anything that's difficult is worth doing. I think that's the lesson there. It's if something's hard and uncomfortable, then it probably means that someone will benefit from it. Yeah. You know, it's funny. We're very lucky in the sense that like every time we release an album, they become the biggest songs in the set. And I know so many bands that have the opposite, where like their older songs are the biggest songs. So it's really great for us. But I think songs like Royal Beggars is massive live, and Modern Misery is massive, and even like Wasted Hymn is massive. It's just really fun. It's really fun to be playing these songs live, and I think people really connect with us as a band and can tell how much that we love doing it and how much it means to us. So I think they know how important they are to the shows. Yeah, I think we're always like wanting to progress, and I think progressing as a band it can be quite daunting. You know, it's quite easy to stay in a safe lane, and you know, I think there's a lot more of our progression to happen. Yeah, I think, you know, we're still learning about how to write with each other, with these group of people that we have now. But I think the scene in general is great. I think both bands that we have on tour with us are fantastic, and they're both doing new things, and you know, all you have to do is look around and you see, you know, what can be achieved. And you know, bands like Bring Me the Horizon getting #1 albums in the UK is amazing, and I think they got #3 in Germany and #1 in Australia, and it's amazing to see what they've done for heavy music from where they started to where they are now. It's an amazing journey, and I think, yeah, that progression and that jump that, you know, they've taken is inspiring to other bands, because you know, it's not easy to make music like that. I think that's what people think is what's confusing, is because people are like, oh, you know, they've sold out, they've done this, and like, oh, it's so easy to do that. It's like, to write a melody that catchy is very difficult, and to write music that complex is very difficult. So yeah, I'm liking seeing what's happening now with music and people challenging each other and stuff, and yeah, it's inspirational to see bands like Bring Me do that stuff. It makes us kind of, you know, think about like where we can take our music and what we can do. I think my whole life, my dad's very musical, so we, you know, in our family home, it was like the Beatles, Stones, The Who, you know, it was all these like big rock bands, and that was great to be, you know, surrounded by that all the time. Was amazing and really eye-opening. But I think for me, when I was younger, I think it was sort of like Nirvana was like one of the first proper heavier bands that I'd heard, and then obviously Nirvana, Kurt was such a big fan of the Beatles, so there was that sort of like weird progression there musically for me. And then I started listening to like Blink-182 when Enema of the State came out, and they were everywhere, and I wanted to play drums because Travis Barker was such a big influence on me when I was younger. And then yeah, I joined a bunch of bands and then ended up singing, so it worked out alright. Yeah, I mean, Royal Blood are like some of our best mates, and me and Ben actually grew up in the drummer Ben. We actually grew up in the same town. We lived in Rustington together, which is like a tiny little village, and we lived on the same street. So me and him grew up playing in bands like in our local village, and then now to see what we're both doing is pretty crazy. But there's amazing bands from Brighton. You know, like the Excerpts are another amazing band, and there's just so much cool stuff coming out. And there's always shows on in Brighton as well, which is amazing. I think in general, I struggle with it because I remember being younger and living outside of Brighton, like a little bit outside of Brighton. I remember there would be like shows in like my little village, but I don't know if there's shows in like villages and stuff anymore. I hope there is. Like, I hope there's local scenes and stuff that are doing stuff for younger bands. But yeah, playing live is the best thing you can do, and yeah, the more people you can get to come to your shows, the better. Yeah, I think I went to the first one. Remember going to with my parents. I remember with my dad. I remember going and seeing Paul Weller in Brighton, which was great. And then the first one I went to by myself or with like my friends was a band called The Ataris, And they played in Brighton. Yeah, that was really good. I think it was like a school dance or something. I think. I'm trying to remember, like really trying to remember. But yeah, I think it was like a school dance or something, and I'm sure there was like Britney Spears or something playing in the background. Yeah, not very cool, but I think the first time I drank was like 16 and got properly smashed. But yeah, I didn't drink for a while after that because the hangover was pretty rough. But it must have been Enema of the State, Blink-182. It must have been. I think that it must have been that one. Yeah. I don't drive. I still don't drive.
Oh,
yeah.
Good for you. No accidents.
Exactly. Yeah, the first car I drove is non-existent. I've driven a friend's car back in the day, somewhere maybe where I shouldn't have done, but yeah, I've never driven, never had a lesson.
Okay.
I've been too busy being in a band to have time at home.
That's a good excuse.
Yeah, I'm sticking to it. Yeah.